How's it going, guys? DJ Neeks here, and as I said in my review of Justice League, I wanted to wait until I found time to go see Thor Ragnarok a second time. As I have mentioned before, I am working a job at a retail store while also doing this. And needless to say, when we are now in the months of November and December, it becomes a little difficult to find the time to sit down and record with the amount of hours that they will tend to schedule you during the holiday shopping season. So that also takes away from free time to be able to, say, go to the movies. Fortunately, though, I was able to work it out where the last couple of nights, the previous two nights, I was able to take my parents to see Justice League as well as Thor Ragnarok, because they hadn't seen it, but I had already seen both of them, and I wanted to see them both of them a second time. And I am glad to say that I enjoyed both movies more on my second viewing. Obviously, once you know what's going to happen, and you're able to just kind of enjoy it more, relax, and as well as pay attention a little bit more. No, like focus more on some of those certain parts. You were like, wait, like let me hear that more clearly. Let me focus on what exactly he said. So yeah, Thor Ragnarok, because I already talked about Justice League, and feel free to go check that out. But Thor Ragnarok, while I am talking about it, I'll be checking out a game I never played before. I have played a version of this type of game, the X-Men version, but I never got to try out Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. I think I may have checked out the first one, but I don't think I ever got a chance to try out the second one, which obviously it's a little bit more relevant here, since from what I understand, this one is based heavily on the Civil War storyline, which is fantastic. So, I guess I'll be messing around with this, just kind of checking it out while I'm talking about Thor Ragnarok. So, I will say, I'll be honest with you guys, despite everybody loving the movie and giving it very high praise, and, on my first viewing of the movie, I rocked out of it going, well, I liked it. I mean, I didn't necessarily love it, but I think it was because the thing about this movie, it's a little jarring because they decide to, collectibles. They decide to go a route that we have not really seen before, not only in their movies in general, but especially in the Thor movies. The previous two Thor movies were nothing like Thor Ragnarok. Obviously, the first one was directed by Kenneth Branagh, and yeah, it did get kind of slow when we got to the part where he's stuck on Earth without his powers, and he's pretty much having to learn how to become a better person via his time with Jane. Kenneth Branagh directed that, so obviously he's going to focus a lot on that dramatic aspect of it, which I was okay with because we're getting introduced to these characters in this universe. The whole aspect of him being incredibly arrogant, and Odin is like, wow, you are such a child. It's like, he takes, one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when he takes the Mjolnir away from him and goes, I take from you your power. And he casts him out. I was like, wow, that's I thought that was such a great scene. Of course, with Anthony Hopkins as Odin, he kills it. So, and then of course when he regains his power and sacrifices his life, and Mjolnir deems him worthy to wield Mjolnir again and be Thor. I thought that was one fantastic scene. And I enjoyed Thor Dark World. I don't know why people give it such hate. Why some people are like, Thor Dark World is terrible. I enjoyed that movie. And plus we got to see some aspects that, we got to see the Aether, or the Ether. I think it's spelled with an A, but they pronounce it Ether. And so it's a little like, wait, is that how it's pronounced? Oh my gosh. All right, hold on. I was completely not paying attention to the text down there. I was like, why is this guy immune? And then I looked down and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to grab him. Oh. Nope. Spider-Man cannot grab those. Never mind. So, I enjoyed the first two Thor movies, and this is nothing like the first two. Now, there are some things about this movie I didn't necessarily like. For one thing, I don't like how they just wrote off the characters and such that they invested a lot of time into. Hold on a second. Oh, I got a block. Okay. What am I supposed to do? Run up here and punch this helicopter? Or am I supposed to do those powers that they have? I guess so. Captain, your shield! Nope, never mind. Wrong button. Wrong button. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. I gotta remember what the controls are here. No, I don't want to do a fusion thing here, do I? I don't think so. I don't know. Alright, here we go. But, anyway. Oh gosh, what was I... The helicopter completely distracted me. What was I saying? Oh, the things I didn't like. I don't like how they just kind of... You know those characters that they spent a lot of time showing us in the first two movies? Thor's friends from Asgard, Jane and the humans. Yeah, guess what? They just get written off in this movie. There's one line where a fan walks up to Thor, takes a picture, and is like, sorry that Jane dumped you. And I'm like, oh, okay. And Thor's like, she didn't dump me. I dumped her. It was a mutual dumping. And it's like, that's the last we ever hear of Jane. So, I don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe Natalie Portman wanted more money. Maybe there was a contract issue, and they just, they couldn't bring her back. I don't know. Or maybe they just decided, forget it. We're not going to bother with this whole Jane thing anymore, even though we spent 2 movies. I mean, one of the points of Dark World was that she could not get over Thor. She couldn't be with other guys. She tried to date other guys, but she couldn't because she couldn't stop thinking about Thor. And so she's just written off. They just say that Jane dumped him. And I'm like, really? She dumped him? I find that a little hard to believe. That's just me. But, I mean, when you showed those scenes in Thor Dark World where she can't stop thinking about Thor while trying to date someone else, that tells me that it's not going to be easy for her to want to dump the guy. I'm just, but that's just me. I don't know. Who knows? I just find that very implausible and hard to believe, but whatever. They didn't really want to care, spend that much time on it. They didn't want you to dwell on it. They were just like, hey, look, we're going to be doing all this stuff. Just don't think about it too much. But it just seemed cheap to just write it off like that. Like, that's all it was. She dumped him. Despite all that time that they dedicated to them. Oh, this is the choice thing I heard about. What did he say? When do we get briefed in full on the mission, Fury? This is going to be tough without any backup. I don't like fighting blind. What was Electro doing here? I guess the blue route is the Captain America route, and the red route is the Iron Man route, which I guess makes sense. And then the gray is just middle of the road. Yeah, for the people who don't like to make a choice, who don't like to make a I forget that. Come on, if there's anything Mass Effect taught me is that you gotta make a choice, because you'll get paid in full when you commit to a certain direction. Alright. Oh, defensive. Oh, that's what it's called. Okay. Interesting. But anyway, plus, not just Jane and the humans, but also Thor's friends from Asgard. Let's see, I'll help you for now, Fury, but when this is done, we're done. By the way, this is a spoiler review, in case you couldn't tell. After what we've been through, I think you owe us the truth, Fury. That kind of talk does inspire confidence in the troops, Fury. That sounds like something Captain America would say. But anyway. Ooh, defensive attitude. Obviously, I'll have to see, like, what's the bonus, or what's the point, or, like, what's the reward if you commit to one or the other in that regard. Ooh, bonuses, collectibles, nice. Body upgrade, whoo! But, anyway, this is I guess I should mention that this is a spoiler review for Thor Ragnarok, in case you don't know. So if you haven't seen it, be warned, or just go see stop and go see the movie and then come back. But, yeah, so his friends from Asgard, it was only, at least it was just one of them. I didn't notice the others in the scene. It looked like it was just one, or maybe even 2 of them. But they just kind of get killed off just in a second. It's like boom, boom, boom. They're dead. And it's like, that's it. It just seemed like they just didn't care about any of the stuff that happened in the first two movies, and just was like, yeah, you don't care about any of that stuff. Let's just get to the craziness that this movie's gonna provide you guys. It just felt a little jarring the first time I saw it. I was like, oh wow, okay, am I not supposed to care now? Or about any of that stuff? It was just a little jarring. The second time, it's like, once you know what's, like, okay, it's like, okay, whatever, sure, why not, I'll roll with it, I guess. But it was just weird in that regard, that it just got written off so easily. Ooh. Okay, so that's what that one does. Nice. Ah, I missed it. There we go. There's Captain America's shield. But anyway. Yeah, so we check in on Thor when apparently he's visiting this guy who's apparently supposed to cause the end of Asgard, or as it's called, Ragnarok. That's what the title is about. So, right from the get-go, you can tell that this movie is gonna be a comedy. You know how? Because Thor's just, immediately he's just like, now I know what you're thinking. How did this happen? And he's talking to a skeleton, and you're like, okay, this is a different Thor than the one I've been used to seeing in the previous movies, who was all very, like, I am Thor, Odin's son, he's very serious and dramatic. Here he's just like, it's like, ha ha ha, hi, how are you? And he's talking to a skeleton. I'm like, okay, so yeah, this is a very more comedic Thor than we're used to. So the thing I would say when seeing this movie is get used to being surprised of things being different from the previous Thor movies. So, because they change up the tone quite a bit from the previous ones. It's not a bad thing, it just takes a little getting used to, and on your first viewing, it may hurt your enjoyment of the film a bit. So I would say that it definitely, once I adjusted and knew, I was able to enjoy the movie a lot more on my second viewing, once I was able to be like, okay, I know what to expect, I know what the tone's going to be, I know what's going to happen, so I can now understand why a lot of people absolutely had a blast with it and had fun. But my first viewing, I was like, it was, it felt like a mixed bag to me at first, but on my second viewing, I enjoyed it a lot more. So yeah, he gets this, he gets the guy's crown, puts it in Asgard. He returns to Asgard. Now, the guy said, he was like, it's like, Odin would never let you. And he's like, Odin isn't even on Asgard. And Thor's like, huh? Wait a minute. At the end of the second movie, he told me it belongs to you if you are worthy. He's like, but Odin was there. And then he's like, oh, because then he gets back, he sees a statue of Loki, he sees Odin watching a play about the death of Loki, and he figures out, he's like, oh, I get it. It's like, he realizes that it's Loki pretending to be Odin. And as soon as Thor shows up, Loki is like, yeah, crap, it's him. And Thor throws Mjolnir, and he holds his hand to the back of Loki's head. He's like, it's like, nothing's gonna stop Mjolnir from returning to my hand, brother. And he's like, all right, fine. And he turns back to Loki. And oh gosh, what's the actor's name? I can't remember. He played Dredd in the recent Judge Dredd movie. But he was one watching over the Frost, the Bifrost, and he runs up because he was supposed to announce Thor returning, and he's like, Thor is here, and Loki's like, you had one job, and oh, here's Iron Man and Captain America fusion. There we go, very nice. Alright, so he's like, where is Odin? And he's like, alright, I'll take you to him. And they find that apparently this old care he apparently put him in a home. Apparently Loki was like, yeah, I'm gonna put you in a home because you're an old man, so you belong in a home. And so the home is getting you know, wrecked by a construction crew, and he's like, you left him here? Where, on the sidewalk, or where that was? He's like, I left him right here. and then all of a sudden a portal opens up underneath Loki, and he drops, and Thor sees a piece of paper with an address, and he goes to the address, and it's Doctor Strange's place. And we pretty much get to see the scene at the end of the Doctor Strange movie where he's like, tea? He's like, I don't drink tea. And he has a big thing of beer, and he's like, so why bring Loki to New York? And he's like, we're looking for my father. If I help you find him, will you all go back to Asgard? No, promptly. And he's like, great. Allow me to help you. And so at this point, what I loved about this scene was that you can tell that Doctor Strange has made strides and progress in his path to becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. He has gotten a lot better at the mystic arts at this point than he was in the first movie, because he is just just teleporting Thor and him from room to room, just like instantly. And it's like jarring for Thor. He's like, whoa, whoa. And it's like, you know, he keeps spilling his beer. He's like, could you please stop doing that? And Strange just keeps teleporting, looking at incantations to teleport them to wherever they are. He says he's in Norway, and he's like, I need to borrow a strand of your hair. He's teleporting like with such ease. He's making it look ridiculously easy, and before he opens a portal, he's like, I'm gonna need my brother. He's like, oh, right, your brother. Oh, I get to choose a new team. Or is this my team? Hold on. Wait. Hold on a second. Swap hero. Oh, look at the heroes I can swap out. I have Thing, Gambit, Mr. Fantastic, Juggernaut. Is that Deadpool? Yes, it is. I think that's Iron Fist. Iceman, Daredevil, Venom, Luke Cage. Oh, gosh, who is that? Is that Jean Grey, maybe? No, I wonder who that is. I can't tell who that is. Carnage! Human Torch. Oh, gosh. I wonder... Storm. Cap. Oh, Cap is unavailable. Okay. Is that Storm or Rogue? Invisible One. Magneto! The Hulk. Oh, okay. So Cap and Iron Man just took off. They're like, yeah, we gotta bounce. Hey, there's Thor, speaking of which. Okay, so let's see. My current team. Is this Cable? Yeah, it is Cable. I was like, who is that? Oh, that's Cable. And this is Black Panther, right? Yes, it is. Looks like he has the cape. He doesn't have the cape in the upcoming... I cannot wait for that Black Panther movie, by the way. That looks so good. And that's going to be the last movie we get before Infinity War, which, by the way, if you want, if you want my thoughts on how I reacted to the Avengers Infinity War trailer, I cried. I cried tears of joy, tears of happiness at what I was seeing. The music and the theme just, oh, so great. But anyway, back to Thor Ragnarok. It's good. One of my favorite lines is before they go through the portal, he's like, my brother. He's like, oh, that's right, your brother. And he opens a portal, and you hear Loki, ah! And he falls apart and goes, I have been falling for 30 minutes. And it was just so great, so hilarious. So that visual, he's been falling for half an hour. Can you imagine what that must be like? I don't want Cable. Let's see. Let's get someone else that I enjoy a little bit. Ooh, oh, Magneto. I got Spider-Man and Wolverine. I've already checked out those guys as well as Captain. Not really feeling the Fantastic Four. I could, but I don't really want to do the Fantastic Four now. Ooh, Juggernaut. He could be pretty strong. Iceman, Daredevil, Luke Cage. I don't want to do Carnage until I get Venom, so I can have like a Spidey team together. Let's get Magneto. I might stick with Black Panther, but who else would I want instead? Let me cycle through and see. Who would I want? Black Panther or Juggernaut? You know what? He's in the next upcoming movie, so let's go ahead and stick with Black Panther. Let's see how good he is. And of course, Magneto, sticking with Spider-Man, Wolverine for now. Because there's Spider-Man, Wolverine. We got Spider-Man. Sadly, we may never get Wolverine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It breaks my heart. This is a game roster that this is how it should be in the MCU. We should have the Fantastic Four and the X-Men all involved with the MCU right now. Could you imagine that? I mean, just think about the cast that we're going to be getting in Infinity War, but imagine adding the X-Men and the Fantastic Four in there as well as those other characters like Doctor Doom, just things like that. Oh, that'd be so great. But sadly, I think we may never get it because Fox refuses to let them go, unlike Sony, who was willing to make a compromise with Spider-Man. And good on them for that because we all benefit from it. But anyway, back to Thor Ragnarok. They go to Norway, and sadly, Odin is going to die, and he pretty much just gives one last, you have made me very proud, my sons. I love you, my sons. Just one last goodbye. He fades away. He warns them. He says, I can't hold her back anymore. Your sister, Hela, the goddess of death. Yeah, I banished her long ago, and my life was the only thing that was keeping her banished, but I'm about to die, which means she will no longer be banished. She will be able to return. And as soon as he leaves, a portal opens up behind them, and just like that, this is why, because Fury, Iron Man, and Cap are going to be just fighting on their own, so the rest of us are going to be going this way. Gotcha. Of course, which of course sets up the Civil War stuff. I find it interesting that Magneto is like, yeah, sure, I'll help you guys out. Why not? Because I'm Magneto. There's Black Panther. Yeah. Black Panther. I never freeze. I rewatched the trailer, and I just loved it. I cannot wait to see how Black Panther thrives in his solo movie. I loved him in Civil War, and I cannot wait to see how he does in this one. What happens to us happens here. Will determine what happens to the rest of the world. It's that's I'm just trying to imitate how Boseman did it. I'm not trying to, be offensive in a accent or anything. I'm just trying to impersonate how Boseman did it. But anyway, let's go ahead and switch up to Magneto. Eric Lenscher. Obviously love, but anyway, back to Thor Ragnarok. I'm getting sidetracked with all the characters. But, Hela comes back, played by Cate Blanchett, and she just, you can tell she is loving this role. She is eating up the scenery. She is having a blast in this movie. Just immediately, she's like, oh, so he's gone, is he? Shame, would have liked to have seen that. He's like, I'm son of Odin. He's like, really? You don't look like him. It's like, you sound like him. Neil, and they're like, huh? And you immediately get a sense as to why she's called the goddess, because apparently her power is she can materialize any kind of weapon, like a sword, an axe, whatever, just out of thin air. She just immediately a sword appears in her hand. She says, kneel before your queen. And so she's ready to go. Well done. Thor's like, yeah, I don't think so. He throws Mjolnir, and you saw this in the trailer. It's not a spoiler or anything. You saw this they just gave this away. Oh my goodness, Magneto! Oh, look at that. Oh yeah, Magneto. So cool. But she catches Mjolnir in midair and just holds it, and Thor's like, this is impossible. And she's like, darling, you have no idea what's possible. And she crushes Mjolnir with her bare hand into pieces. It's a jarring moment just because you've seen Mjolnir just be... And they even show this in the beginning of this movie up to this point, how Mjolnir was pretty much unstoppable. Nothing can stop Mjolnir. And it just shows how powerful she is. She is not to be messed with. It's clear how much more powerful she is. And the way that the rest of this movie is set up is that Loki calls for the Bifrost to call them back, and Thor recognizes that if they do that, she'll have a open pathway back to Asgard. She follows them through. She knocks them out of the transport, which knocks them into space. And she returns to Asgard and immediately begins to kill everybody. This is where she kills Thor's friend from the first two movies from Asgard that I mentioned. That's what she does here. And then we see Thor land on a planet that reminded me of the garbage planet from the original Transformers movie from the 1980s. You guys remember that when the Hot Rod ended up on that what looked like a planet of like just covered in garbage with these other Transformers that like were able to salvage and repair all that garbage or whatever it was. That's what this reminded me of. And it was just like, oh, okay, like he obviously he no longer has Mjolnir, and he's kind of like, you know, jarred about this whole thing, just like, you know, still trying to get over it. And this is where the movie gets very zany with, you know, all the stuff. They are pretty much on this planet that apparently in some part of the galaxy is just kind of, time works differently there, because apparently even though Loki fell out of that oh gosh, what was it called? That Bifrost transportation beam, I guess I can call it. Even though he hold on a second. Even though he was he fell out of that only seconds before Thor did, we then find out that when Thor runs into Loki there, Loki has been there like for quite some time. Like, I don't know, they never really say, but it seems like either weeks or months he's been there, because Loki's like, I've gained favor with them. And it's like, well, how? And then you realize time has passed a lot differently there than before, than it does in the regular portion of the galaxy where they are, in Earth and Asgard. Time apparently goes by much slower there, or faster there, because like even the Grandmaster, played by Jeff Goldblum, because oh my goodness, Jeff Goldblum, just Jeff Goldblum being Jeff Goldblum. He's saying like, oh yeah, and in other places I'd be millions of years old, but here, and he just stops there, and it's like, here what? No, it's just Jeff Goldblum. He's just gonna leave that there just because I would be millions of years old, but because you know, Jeff Goldblum. That's all I need to say, Jeff Goldblum. But it just gets so crazy from that point on. Oh, that's what I need to do, just destroy that. Gotcha. Obviously, this is going to be a little off with me not really paying attention to what's going on the screen in terms of the audio or the subtitles. But, I'm just like thinking, you know, I saw it last time, I'm trying to recap. It's supposed to be fresh in my mind, but it's still like a little like, oh, okay. It's like, this is where the movie kind of like, for me, was kind of a tonal, had tonal confusion. It seemed like it didn't really know what it wanted to be, because at one moment we'll be seeing Thor trying to figure all this out, and the next moment we're back in Asgard seeing Hela pretty much try to take over the place and kill everybody, where she's like, immediately after that we go and see her there, and she's like, it's come to my attention that apparently you don't know who I am, and she's like gonna slaughter all of Asgard's armies because they won't follow her. And and then all of a sudden we're back to Thor, like, it's like, well, I guess I'm stuck here. And it's like, it was just weird the first time, like, just keep going back and forth like that. And I'm just like, can we please just kind of stick with one, and so we can, especially if one is supposed to be like, it's supposed to be dramatic. We're supposed to be like, oh my goodness, like the horror of what's happening on Asgard. And all of a sudden we're back with Thor, and it's like, hey, fun times laughing. It was just a little off and jarring at first. But we, obviously Thor's wanting to get out of there. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that's what was going on. He's being forced to go up against whoever the champion is of this area. And this is where I started to recognize something about what they were trying to do here. There's a series called, I believe it's called Planet Hulk, where there's this, planet in, it's pretty much what you see in this one, and as soon as he gets in the arena, of course, as you saw in the trailer, the champion is the Hulk. So we're going to have our Hulk Thor fight. The funniest thing about this whole bit, though, was Loki, who had been there for a while, apparently did not even know who the champion was. And as soon as he sees Hulk comes out, he jumps up and he goes, I have to get off this planet. Because you can tell he is still scarred. Just scarred, like, in his mind. From what happened in the Avengers when Thor just bam, pow, just smashed him all over the place and then called him a puny god. He still remembers, and it's you can tell he's still shaking. It's like PSD for Loki. He's just like it still like badly scars him. Like he is terrified when he sees Hulk, and Thor's like, yes, it's we know each other. He's a friend from work. Hey Loki, look who it is. And Loki's just he's frozen. He's just terrified. He's so scared that Hulk is gonna come up there and do the same thing to him. But my favorite part in this was while Thor is trying to calm Hulk down, Hulk then does the exact same thing to Thor that Hulk did to Loki in Avengers. Just grabs him and just smashes him on the ground a few times. And then Loki jumps up and goes, yes, that's how it feels. And I just like, wow. Yeah, Loki, yeah, it's obvious you're pretty scarred by this, dude. Yeah, I kind of start to feel bad for you a bit. And he goes, I'm just a big fan. And I'm like, no, you're just still very scarred by what Hulk did to you in Avengers. Just gives you a bit of an insight into how that felt for Loki. What how he's still trying to deal with that. And we have our fight, and this is where we start to get glimpses also of Thor's power possibly rising to the surface. And so they have their fight. It's pretty fun. We then get shifted back to Asgard, where Hela reveals the true history of Asgard, that it was all apparently built on a lie, that they got where they are in the galaxy because they were conquerors. And she's like, Odin's ambition, my ambition simply outgrew his, and so he decided to become a benevolent, loving, nice king, as opposed to the conqueror that we were meant to be. And I'm like, wow, okay, interesting. And I guess, you could say that perhaps that was something that he was ashamed of, and that's why he wanted to change how things were done or something, It was just very interesting that was the truth behind all that. And then we immediately get thrown back to Thor, like, oh man, what a fight that was. You see where I'm going about the whole tonal confusion, where it's like when we're supposed to be like taking in the dramatic, aspects of this, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're back to comedy. And then this is where we find out that Hulk has grown to be able to talk like quite well. Like he's able to talk really well in this. Well, not like as well as Banner, but like he's like Hulk stay, Thor go. No Banner, only Hulk. He's able to like talk in sentences somewhat. Which is like, oh, wow, okay. And so Thor is trying to figure out a way to get out of there, to get back to Asgard. He finds the ship that Hulk flew away in at the end of Avengers: Age of Ultron. He finds it. It plays a recording of Black Widow trying to talk to Banner, and this causes Hulk to go back to Banner. He said, "I've been Hulk for 2 years." And it's like, okay, so they had him playing as the Incredible Hulk for 2 years in that arena. And he never changed back. I guess they just kept him that way. So it was an interesting thing, but the movie never let that sink in, that whole aspect. It just immediately just was like, all right, immediately back to the fun and the comedy and such. And they begin trying to plan their escape, and I don't think I mentioned her, but the character, the Valkyrie, she was awesome in this movie. dealing with all of her stuff, wanting to kind of forget all the terrible things that happened to her and her Valkyrie sisters, and Thor is trying to like get her to realize that she can't just hide, forever. She has to, at some point get back and confront it and try to deal with it, trying to get her to help him get back to Asgard. And so this is where we then begin our, they're going to team up to get out of there and get away from this planet run by Jeff Goldblum. And so this is, they start to get things, weapons, and try to get a ship so they can get out of there and fly through the portal that can get them back to Asgard. And, more jokes and fighting and things ensue. I will say though, this movie, this movie is not meant for kids. Okay, this is a Marvel movie that it's not meant for kids. You know why? Because number one, they curse a lot, and it's cursing. Obviously, that's in pretty much every movie. And they've cursed in other Marvel movies before. But they do insinuate a couple of other things that I'm pretty sure parents are not going to want their kids to know about. Like, for example, the ship they get into is not a combat ship. Valkyrie says that's the ship that the Grand Master uses for celebrations and parties and things, like his orgies. Yes, she says orgies, and he goes, did she just say that? And I'm like, wow. Oh, they went that route, okay? And I'm just thinking to myself, imagine if they took their kids to this, and the kid then turns to their parents and goes, Mommy, what's an orgy? Yeah, imagine having to explain that. So, yeah, definitely not for kids, this one, I think. But anyway, so we have our big, chase out of there where they're trying to chase them down with other ships and such. And we then get back to Asgard where we then get our big throwdown where Thor goes to fight Hela while the others try to save the people and citizens of Asgard who have been resisting Hela and trying to get away. Meanwhile, Hela revived her ancient army who was buried under Asgard, as well as a giant wolf. I forget what it's called, like what its name is. But this thing was really awesome looking, just really fierce. And so as they're trying to get away through the Bifrost, we then see that it's waiting at the end for the people so it can stop them. And as Thor is fighting Hela, the Valkyrie and Banner are trying to see if they can stop it from killing the people, and it won't die and such. And so Banner goes, it's okay, it's time for me to show you who I really am, because the Valkyrie had been sparring buddies with the Hulk on that planet the whole time, but she never knew about Banner. She never knew about the whole Jekyll and Hyde thing. She just knew Hulk. And so this is one of the best jokes in the movie. Where do I go? Okay, use my powers, but on what? Oh, on this? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Oh, apparently so. Okay. Engage the capacitor locks. Okay. Sure. Alright. Anyway. So Banner's like, I'm gonna show you who I really am, and he falls out of the ship, and you're expecting the Hulk is gonna land on the bridge to confront not Mjolnir, whatever the wolf's name is. And instead of the Hulk, you just see Banner just boom, boom, just drops on the bridge, and he looks like a lifeless, just pile. Just like you think he's dead, like just by that, like his face is like, ugh. And even the dog just sniffs him like, ugh, oh yeah, he's dead. And so and he just runs past him to kill the people. Then all of a sudden his tail is grabbed and is thrown, and you see it's Hulk, and those two then fight. And then probably the best part of the movie for me, you then see that Hela is clearly winning. She uses a sword to remove Thor's eye, so he looks like Odin. And then she goes, "Oh, well, now you look like Dad." And she's taunting him. She's like, "It's like, let me tell you something, bro. I'm not a queen nor a monster. I'm the goddess of death. What were you the god of again?" And then he sees a vision of of Odin. He's talking with him. He's like, I can't beat her without my hammer. Without Mjolnir, I can't stop her. And Odin says, one of my favorite lines in the movie, he says, are you Thor, the god of hammers? And it was like, no, he's the god of thunder. And he's like, Mjolnir was merely an instrument for you to channel your power, but it was never the source of your strength. And you're like, okay. And like, you can tell at that point, it's like he's ready to go. Like, he's like, I can't, I'm not as strong as you. And he's like, no, you're stronger. And she again asks, what were you the god of again? And then just lightning just, comes out of his hands, and he just lights up, full of lightning. And then a giant lightning bolt strikes her, and then he flies down, just surging with lightning, to the bridge to fight these minions. And that's when the Led Zeppelin song kicks in. It was an awesome moment. It was just like, I felt like I wanted to shout it, like, yeah, for Thor, to see him just powered up so much there, finding his true power, ready to take them all on and just throw down. It was an awesome moment. And he is destroying all them, all while the Led Zeppelin song is playing. Everybody shows up. The Valkyrie shows up to fight. Hulk is still fighting the wolf. And after the fight with the, all the soldiers and everything, Hela shows up again. And Loki's like, hit her with a lightning bolt. He's like, I hit her with the biggest lightning bolt in the history of lightning, and it did nothing. And they're trying to figure out, how did they defeat her? And that's when Thor realizes, because Odin told him that Asgard is not a place, it's a people. And he looks back at the people, and he sees them getting on the ship they're going to escape on. And he realizes that as long as they're alive, it's okay, because they are Asgard, not the place. And then he realizes they have to destroy the place because she gets her power from Asgard. And he says, this was never about stopping Ragnarok. This is about causing it. Because it was the only way to stop Hela. And so he tells Loki to go get the fire crown of the guy, the fire skull guy that he met at the beginning of the movie, to put it in the eternal flame so he can cause Ragnarok. And Loki's like, that's a bold move, but okay. And so you then see, while they're holding off Hela, you see Loki go into the vault to get the crown. He's going to put in the flame. And then he looks over and he sees the Tesseract. And he's like, And spoiler, in the trailer it showed he did take the Tesseract, which, it makes sense. Otherwise, the Tesseract would have gotten destroyed, And so he revives the guy. You then see Hela go, you can't stop me. He's like, you know what? I can't. And then boom, you see it exploding. He goes, but he can. And that Fire Skull guy is pretty much becomes a giant. He has his giant sword. He's going to destroy Ragnarok. And we see it get destroyed. There's a bit of comedy there from this character who's made of rocks. And he's like, well, we can rebuild. The foundation's still there. We can be able to turn this place into a haven. Then it blows up. He's like, oh, well, no, never mind. Foundations are gone. This is a really funny moment. Even though it probably could have done a bit without that, considering that was supposed to be like a oh my gosh, Asgard is gone moment. Even though the whole, Asgard is not a place, it's a people thing. But yeah, you dare send robotics against Magneto? But and so they're on the ship together, and they realize I think Heimdall, I think is how you say his name, Heimdall. He's like, it's like, you saved us from extinction, and like he has him sit on the chair on there, like as if he's a throne. Like pretty much, Thor is now accepting his position as king. He now wears an eye patch just like Odin, and Loki. He's all buddy, and with him, like now he's like kind of a good guy now. He's like, it suits you, like Loki is still the god of mischief, and he does kind of try to betray him again, but like by the end, he's more of an anti-hero. And it's like, yeah, Loki, you're a good guy now. Come on. And they're going to head back to Earth, and that's how the movie ends. But then we get a credit scene where it's like, you know what? I think everything's going to turn out fine. And then you see it. You see Thanos' ship. And it makes the ship they're on look like an ant. And it's like setting the stage for what's going to happen in Avengers Infinity War. So, definitely a much better viewing experience the second time. It was a little off for me at least the first time I saw it, but I definitely enjoyed this movie a lot more the second time since I knew what was going to happen. It definitely made it much more enjoyable when you just kind of like accept what's going to be happening and just kind of enjoy what is happening, as opposed to having certain expectations based on what you saw in the first two Thor movies. So definitely an enjoyable time. They just decide, like, we're not going to take this so seriously. We are just going to have a blast and just have some fun with this movie. Well, of course he's mad and he's going to kill you all. He's Magneto. But, anyway, definitely enjoyed it. I obviously everybody's loving it. I think last I saw was like 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is like, wow, that's quite a bit of praise. But I haven't heard anyone really say that much negative about this movie. Compared to the likes of Justice League, where it's still like 40% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I still, I guess the critics are didn't really grow up as fans of any of the DC heroes. They never grew up as a fan of Batman. They never grew up as a fan of Superman or Wonder Woman or Flash or, it's like, wow, really? But anyway, it's like, am I supposed to? I was like, what? I guess so. Whatever. But yeah, definitely enjoyed it on the second viewing. Definitely just a fun movie to have all around, just with Thor as well as Hulk. And of course, the payoff for me, of course, was the last act where Thor really becomes the God of Thunder, and he's just destroying all the bad guys, surging with power and lightning. That was just an awesome moment, especially when you've got Led Zeppelin just all of a sudden starts playing in the background. It just gets you fired up and just gets you excited and just puts a big smile on my face. But yeah, definitely enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. I would say like more like an 8 out of 10, I guess, because it was definitely much more enjoyable the second time. So definitely looking forward to the Black Panther movie, and of course, I cannot wait for Avengers Infinity War. Oh my gosh, that is going to be amazing. So those are my thoughts on Thor Ragnarok after seeing it for a second time. Definitely, enjoyed it a lot more the second time than I did the first time. And now we know what Thor was doing during the Civil War. and what Hulk was doing during Civil War as well. So while those guys were having a civil war, the two of them were on a planet fighting each other in an arena. But anyway, so I guess probably the next review I might do, well, of course, how could we forget, in a couple of weeks. We are 2 weeks away from Star Wars. I picked up my tickets for me and my dad, and because I checked and my schedule didn't have me working on that Friday. So yeah, looking forward to it. Obviously, that should be without saying that, the Star Wars fanboy I am. Obviously, I'm really looking forward to seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi, and I will definitely be making a review on that. Definitely a spoiler review. I didn't do one for The Force Awakens, and I regret that. But you can definitely expect me to do a spoiler review on the Star Wars The Last Jedi when that eventually comes out. I will see you guys then.